These guys are ridiculous. These guys are ridiculous.
Now, how about them damn Celtics?
And we are back with another episode of How About Them Celtics. Sam and I are here recording on Wednesday, June 21st. This is dropping the day of the NBA draft, so we do have a great guest for you guys. We have Tyler Rucker from No Ceilings, draft expert. We asked him a ton of questions. He did grow up a Celtics fan too, so it was a really great conversation. But before we get into that, we do have some Celtics news to talk about. No, it is not the Kristaps Porzingis trade that is probably happening right now. We dropped a reaction video to that separately on its own, so it could be its own content because we had a draft show today. So if you're looking for Kristaps Porzingis stuff, there's another video on the YouTube channel for that for you guys to listen to. So go check that out there. But the Celtics did make a coaching hire. They are bringing Amile Jefferson onto the assistant coaching staff. Played with Jason Tatum at Duke. Celtics brought him on the roster for, I think, a summer league bid.
He was on the team
camp.
at least for preseason. He was number 20. Jason Tatum's buddy.
Yes, but another assistant. When the Celtics said they were hiring assistants behind the Missoula, they were not joking around. There was no messing around.
Well, that probably was number one on the list of to do, for the offseason when your whole staff leaves. Kind of do need to fill the seats.
This is true. And hey, I mean, now what? They've hired Charles Lee to be the lead assistant, Sam Cassell, Phil Pressey, and Amille Jefferson. Like, they've got a pretty, and they're bringing back Tony Dobbins, Matt Reynolds, and the rest of their coaching staff outside of Ben Sullivan. Like, they're bringing back a stacked assistant coaching staff. They probably have now gone from one of the most underwhelming coaching staffs because Damon Stoudemire left and it was a mess to one of the most well-respected. And now you bring in a guy who Tatum is close with as well. I mean, it's a good hire, right? Like there's nothing else to say about it. Great hire. Good for the Celtics. Getting another guy on the staff. Amile Jefferson will be there. And another young guy, if I'm not mistaken. Amile Jefferson is only, how old is Amile Jefferson?
He's going to be in his 20s
30.
If he was friends with Tatum.
Just freshly 30. Turned 30 on May 7th.
Okay.
So there you go. Yeah, I mean, what do you think of it? There's not much to say, but another good coaching hire for the Celtics.
Cool, man. Another guy to wear the super cool zip up on the bench.
There we go. Another forward. Did he ever make it to the league? Did he ever play in the NBA? He played in the NBA?
He was on like the preseason roster. I guess
I know,
but
really
I don't
know. He played 2 seasons, 30 total games for the Orlando Magic. Okay. My point is another guy who at least had some experience in the NBA with Cassell, with Phil Pressey. Did Charles Lee play in the NBA? Am I crazy? Or was he just a college guy?
That I'm not aware of.
He did not. He does not pop up in Basketball Reference. All right. The other piece of news we have, again, if you're looking for Kristaps Porzingis stuff, go check the other video out on our channel. We dropped an exclusive video just for that. So check that out. The Celtics are getting offers for Grant Williams. We talked a little bit about Grant Williams signing trades on the last pod, but we're hearing now that how many teams, Sam, have reached out to the Celtics about a potential Grant Williams sign-in trade?
Over half a dozen.
Crazy. It's a lot. It's a lot.
A lot of teams want Grant, want him in a sign-in trade. I guess it's something to keep your eye on. This all came out before the Porzingis thing. In fairness to Jared Weiss at the Athletic.
And if it does happen, I feel like they'd be more likely to move Grant. No,
I agree with that. Yeah, so. It makes them more flexible. We haven't gotten a ton of intel on which teams it might be. We've heard Dallas, we've heard Indiana, we've heard last team. Go ahead, Sam. You got it.
Orlando.
In Detroit. Magic? Oh yeah, Orlando. My bad.
Dallas.
My bad.
Yes, you're good.
Oh, take me behind the shed.
Long day.
Maybe Orlando can give you a guard, right?
Mm-hmm. Maybe
it could make
Gary
sense.
Harris?
They only have a zillion.
Gary Harris would be nice if you get back. It'd probably be like one of the most. You're not getting back much in a Grant Williams sign and trade, in my opinion, because most of the teams interested in him could probably get him without doing a sign and trade. Gary Harris, if you could get him back, that'd probably be one of your best options. He's kind of like a wing/guard. Again, it's not great, but he's going to be off the books next year anyways, so it would help out. So I wouldn't mind it. But for all the people saying Grant Williams sucks, clearly he doesn't. Not enough for people.
No, they want to sign and trade for him.
Exactly.
Which means they're going to have to pay. Whoever it may be.
This is true.
This
is true. They will have to pay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we can jump into our discussion with Tyler Rucker. We talked to him for about an hour and a half. Excuse me. Thank you again to him for joining us. We went over Celtics draft targets. We did our own mock draft that he reacted to. Spoiler alert, we know ball a little bit, at least a little bit. We know ball,
yeah.
Give us some credit. And then we did have the rat list with Tyler. So stay tuned for that. If you're a fan of the Rattlers, it's very fun. So
subscribe.
Please do subscribe to us. Subscribe to No Ceilings on YouTube as well. They're great. Probably the best draft coverage out there. Definitely the draft, my personal favorite draft coverage out there. So it was a joy to have him on the show. So here's our interview with Tyler Rucker. Thank you again to him. Here we go. And it is our pleasure to welcome in Tyler Rucker of No Ceilings NBA Draft, expert in our eyes, especially considering we know nothing about
We're
the
brain
draft.
dead. Yeah.
Yeah. Very grateful him for joining us. How you doing today, Tyler? Thanks for coming on the show.
Jack, Sam, I'm doing great. Thank you guys so much for having me on. This is probably going to be one of my last podcasts of the whole draft cycle. So it's fitting that it's a Celtics pod. I was like, yes, I'll come run into that. So thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, I see all the awesome coverage you guys do every day. You have the new draft preview coming out leading up to the draft. So this would be a great culmination of that. This will be draft day when this drops. And we have a great expert here to teach us and the listeners about what to expect tonight. So I'm excited. Jack's excited. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, it's such a crazy time of the year. I feel like we got rumors galore right now. Obviously, Shams throwing bombs at us left and right. Woj this morning. There's so much just smoke going around, and I'm excited for everything. It's going to be a fun, couple days. It's going to be really, really crazy. I think this year especially is going to be just nuts.
Yeah, I feel like there could be a ton of trades on draft night, and obviously the Celtics, even without the draft. I mean, we talked about it before. Or when the listener is hearing this before, we had you on like Porzingis and obviously hiring Amile Jefferson, Celtics and trade talks, all that stuff. But before we get into the Celtics NBA draft, because they do have the 35th pick, we wanted to ask you a little bit about No Ceilings, which is your draft coverage. I mean, the Twitter bio, no floor, no filter, no ceilings. 2023 NBA draft guide. I was just telling you, I bought it. I think the package is great. The graphics are amazing. It's one of my favorite just pieces of draft coverage that you can purchase. So props to you. It looks great. Would you mind telling us a little bit about it, how it started, just the whole process that goes into No Ceilings?
Yeah, absolutely. I had been always fascinated with the draft, and like a lot of talented evaluators out there, I was trying to kind of grind on my own and made some relationships, and eventually got this idea of like, hey, let's try to form a team and kind of make a run at making this an official business, if you want to put it that way. And teamed up with my buddy Corey Tolbo, who's my partner with this, and quickly it turned into 3 of us to all of a sudden 5 to 7. So we've got a great team that's kind of had the same goal and mindset to make this something long term, and the support's been awesome. It's really been cool, and kind of our goal there is to just spotlight every single prospect we can, not just the big names, and show their highlights. Praise them up, try to give them the best coverage they can. And it's been great. It's been awesome. So excited to see where we go. We're only our second year right now. It's been an unbelievable ride, but long road ahead. A lot of stuff we got to get going.
Yeah, no, like I said, just the way it's put together, as someone who doesn't get the chance to follow, college basketball, and obviously now all the overseas and the G League and everything, the way that the package is formatted, like the draft guide with the prospects, with the graphics, with the details, like everything about it is just perfect to like help me understand without having watched them for a full season, which I mean, I assume all of you guys do all year long, which is crazy to me. It really helps develop a real understanding heading to the draft. So I'm a big fan, and I appreciate you putting that together, and thank you for joining us today.
No, absolutely. I think that was always our biggest goal with No Ceilings, was we're like, hey, let's educate everyone so they can get caught up to speed, whether you're a diehard draft fan or kind of just trying to figure out what's going on the week of the draft. And we wanted to go as in depth as we can. Yeah, like you guys, like this is our target audience. We're like, hey, everyone deserves to get educated, and you shouldn't have to pay for it. But I mean, obviously we charge for the draft guide just $10, but that's kind of our one thing where it's like, hey, if you want to support us, great. But if not, we have coverage all year, and it's free and delivered into your inbox. So it's been great. And the public response has been awesome.
I feel like this is probably a big year for you guys with Wemby and all the hype, especially with the lottery. Like, did we do a stream for the lottery, Jack, or did we just watch it?
I feel like we might have done a stream last year. I know we're planning on doing one this year, but I don't remember if we did one last season.
We were going nuts for when the Spurs got Wemby. I wanted Portland to get the number 1 pick just because I thought it would be the most fun. Yeah, it was a fun watch. The Pistons got the shaft, unfortunately. I'm a sleeper Pistons. Like I kind of root for them, even though we shouldn't as Celtics fans.
No,
it's
no,
just one of them games that I like.
I'm right there with you. I was kind of rooting for Detroit somehow to get a little lucky. And then I thought the Spurs getting one with Popovich. I was like, let's give him one more big project and it's going to be really fun. I think, the expectations, the hype is all over the place with Victor. I think if anything, we got to kind of be a little realistic. This is probably going to be the first season that he's going to play so many games and so many nights. So I think they're going to be patient with it, but he's been worth the hype. He's delivered on it this year. He was fantastic. I got to see him in person and, he somehow looks bigger than he is listed at 7'4", 7'5". It's freakish. So I'm excited. This is going to be a fun year.
That picture of him holding the baseball might be the scariest image I've ever
I didn't see it. I'm looking now.
Yeah. Just go here. Let me pull it up. Actually, we might as well. Let's see. If I just search Wembanyama baseball, it should come up on Twitter, right?
Yeah, it looks like us trying to grab a golf ball. Like that's how he looks with a baseball.
Oh my god,
maybe even smaller than that.
Yeah.
I mean, this is obscene, right? This is unlike anything I've ever seen in my life. This is an alien holding a baseball. You can see it if you're watching on YouTube, but just crazy. Wembanyama is going to be incredible. But before we get into that, you were just telling us before we jumped on that you were a Celtics fan growing up, a Celtics fan. So I couldn't think of anybody better, even on top of the fact that you're a draft expert to have on for our draft preview show. Celtics don't have a first rounder this year. They traded it to the Pacers in the Brogdon deal last year, but they do have pick 35 in this year's draft. And so a few podcast episodes ago, Sam and I did do a little bit of a preview in the sense that, here are some prospects we think could fit based on draft coverage we saw. And so we were hoping to run them by you, see your thoughts. And then if we don't name somebody that you had pegged as a potential Celtics target, you could give us your thoughts on them as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. So the first guy we had was Julian Strother out of Gonzaga. 3-and-D, just the prototypical guy that seems
that was my winner, right?
Probably have a bench role. This is the guy you liked the most, Sam, out of the guys we covered. Are we crazy, or does that sound in the realm of like what they could potentially be looking for?
He's fascinating. I think he belongs in the first round, but I think there's a real shot he's going to be on the board when Boston's picking. And I think it would be an absolute dream if they got him. He's one of those guys he's got a desire to go rebound, do the little stuff that probably someone like Brad Stevens would be spitting on. And this year he took a huge stride with his outside shot. I mean, he was pulling up from well beyond NBA range. So, Boston with that roster, I feel like they need to get some guys that are probably experienced, can come in and potentially space the floor and, add some shooting, because we know what they can do with, Tatum and Brown. But obviously, if they could find someone that's going to play hard, do the little stuff, almost kind of be low maintenance. And, Strother, I think, is going to be one of these guys that could be a potential steal in this draft, especially with kind of where he's been projected. I mean, I've seen him everywhere from 28th to 40th. And I feel like Boston's in a really good spot this year because this draft, when you get past 25, there's a wide range of names that could go in so many different places. So it'll be really interesting, but I think Strother would be absolutely at the top of their board if he's there.
Yeah, we had seen all kinds of different projections. Like, just for example, Jaime Jaquez is on our list from UCLA. When we put this together and we were doing our preview, he was 35th on the ringer for the Celtics. And the last time you look, he's 18 for Miami. So I guess we can go to him next just because I spoiled it.
No.
Anybody else.
He's fascinating. Every team I've talked to has just been like, Jaime is dominating workouts. He's just kicking everyone's butt. So I think that's why he's gotten so hot, is he's coming into these workouts and looking fantastic. And all of a sudden these other teams are bringing him in, and like, he wouldn't shock me if he's going in the top 20 kind of later, because he's just low maintenance, really high basketball IQ, kind of that old school, like really does a lot of damage in the mid range. And has fantastic footwork. So he's just one of those guys that's experienced, probably plug and play early on. He's going to be battle tested. He loves to mix it up inside. Like, if Boston, a while ago, I was like, oh, Jaime would be perfect for the Celtics just because it's one of those guys that could play playoff minutes. But now I'm like, oh, I don't even think they have a shot at him unless they tried to trade up. But Yeah, I absolutely love him. I'm also an Arizona Wildcats fan, so I'm glad he's out of the Pac-12 now because he's been ruining my life for a couple of years. But no, Jaime can play. He's just one of those guys that we're probably going to look up and be like, oh, he played 10 plus years in the league. He was a 6th or 7th guy in your rotation. That was a really nice asset. So that'd be a pipe dream for Celtics fans, but I really like him. He can play.
Yeah, he seems like with his age, of course, he's more developed, more ready to help a team perhaps right away. And I feel like that's one of the big needs for the Celtics.
Yeah, I'm right there with you guys. I think, I feel like Stevens likes to get those guys that he's probably convinced have higher floors than swinging for potential draft that maybe be enticing when they get to a point where like Stevens might be like, I thought we had no shot to get this guy. Someone like Gigi Jackson, maybe. If he's on the board,
he's on our list. He's on our list.
So I could go into that one. Gigi's, he's had a tough process. He's had a real tough process. It's just everything you've heard is the workouts have been underwhelming. Some say he's out of shape. But when you go back and watch his tape, like there's a lot of stuff I think was going for him. Like he should be a freshman this year at college. Tough fit with South Carolina. It was kind of like, oh, we got Gigi. Okay, you can do whatever you want. The tape's rough, but when he's on, like he has some of the top 10 talent probably in this class. So like if he was on the board, it wouldn't shock me if Boston was like, we'll figure it out. Like he's going to have to kind of walk the line the right way or he's not going to play. But I think he's becoming risky and he's fallen. It's one of those names that you could be seeing him in the top 20 or you could see him probably in the middle of the second round.
Yeah, I remember early, like right when mock drafts started coming out right after the lottery, Golden State was projected to get him at 19, I think, from CBS, and now he's all the way down around near the Celtics. That is definitely an eyebrow raiser. And Jack and I reacted to his tape. It was really funny. Like, this was the rare highlight tape that they included misses and everything. It might have been from you guys. I don't remember.
No, I think I know who. I think I kind of watched one of your guys' episode, and I was like, okay, that's a good account because they show every shot. But I was like, oh, for Gigi, for every shot could be a little rough viewing.
Yeah, we were like waiting for him to catch fire, and it never really happened. Like he had to go 8 of 11 to get to, I want to say 30 of 21. He was that game.
Yeah, 30
like,
points.
When is he going to look like he's like having a great game? And it never happened. We were just like sitting here and you're like, okay, like that was an okay shot. So I can see the concern. And with the Celtics, I don't know how much sense it makes to take a project right now. You see, like the Warriors with Kuminga, and he hasn't gotten in the rotation as much as he would like. The Celtics are trying to compete. It feels like Gigi might help have the best situation somewhere else.
I agree. I think teams like even the Warriors, I think are, from what I've heard, are going to lean more towards like, okay, we need to get a guy that could come in and help us win right now.
Denver too.
And I think, Denver made another great trade today. Like that's what I'm saying. The range, like Denver's been really smart about this because there is a range from about 25 to 40 that you might get a name that you're not expecting. You know, they might have a guy on their board 21st that all of a sudden they're going to have a real shot to get with both of those picks because everyone you ask, they just have such a wide range on so many names. Some guys love players that are going to go top 25, and then some are like, I got him 43rd, and it's just all over the place. So I think Boston really will probably lean towards the safer guys that might be more experienced and maybe even can come in and like add a specific wrinkle to their team potentially. Maybe it's an outside shooter. Maybe they try to get some defense. You never really know, but I think maybe adding some on the wings makes some sense to me.
Yeah, well, this isn't the shooting part, but maybe it's the defense of the wing part.
Yeah.
Another name we had on our list is Jordan Walsh. I will say, though, in your guys' draft package, I like the OG Anunoby little DNA thing. I don't know if I love the Michael Kidd-Gilchrist part of it, so I'd love to get your thoughts.
Does he shoot from his chest?
But
he's a tough one. I have him a little lower personally. We have some guys at No Ceilings that love him, like that just adore him. If Boston went that route, I think they'd be saying like, this is our defensive specialist, like the Lou Dort mindset where it's like, okay, we have enough offense. Let's get a guy that potentially could be a lockdown defender in our rotation where, you know, a tough playoff series. It's like, Jordan, go out there and just stop this guy. We'll figure everything else out.
Yeah.
I'm a little shocked he stayed in the draft. I thought another year might have helped him. But I think there's some teams that like him a lot. It's just the shot is the swing set with a lot of a lot of players every year. I'm not sure if it's ever going to come around, but really intelligent player, really nasty defender, one of those guys that could kind of be a game wrecker on defense. So he'll be an interesting one. He'll be probably in that conversation if he's on the board still.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like I said, the defense is there. I suppose, like you said, though, do they need that? Do they need the shooting? It feels like the Celtics can go in a lot of different directions. And at the same time, Jordan Walsh is a freshman. Do you think teams are valuing college experience now more than they ever have? Because it feels like we're starting to see a lot of these 4-year guys start to get a little bit more buzz than they might have in years past.
Yeah, I think we're seeing so many of these experienced guys come in, and if they go undrafted, Miami obviously has their success with all those guys that were experienced college players that came in and figured out a way to be really impactful. And teams have always chased potential and upside. And I think you find out when you swing for the fence, you can strike out and all of a sudden take a step back when it comes to team building. So I think now it's the smart teams, the teams that are always contending. They're like, we want to find a guy that we know what he is right now. We know what he could potentially come in and help. And that's why, like Strother, I really do believe is going to be very desirable for some of these playoff teams because he could come in, play tough, play smart, and shoot the crap out of the ball. So like teams like Denver, they took Christian Braun last year. We all saw how great that worked out for them. I think that's just kind of the range, especially in this class. You can get some of these experienced guys. And I think that's why the smart teams are trying to get up into that range. Like even Boston with picking at 35, there have been rumored they're trying to get up into the late first. So
right,
they probably have their eye on some guy that they're like, hey, this is a guy that can help us make a title push this year. Even if it's, the 8th or 9th guy in the rotation, but still just having that asset that maybe that could help you out right away.
Yeah, I mean, especially with the new CBA coming in and all these teams kind of getting tied at the hands or wallet rather financially, you can't spend. You have to find guys that are going to help you through the draft. So this feels like it's an even bigger year for the draft than it normally would be. That's why you see a team like Denver moving up.
I think you're spot on there, Sam. Like I think the CBA is going to shake things up a lot. I mean, everyone freaked out about the Bradley Beal trade and the return package, but I was like, that was a financial move. Like they were trying to get rid of that contract. And, Boston, obviously with the Tatum and Jalen extensions kind of looming. I think the smart teams are the ones that go get these young guys that are like, hey, they're veterans. We've seen everything. They check the boxes when it comes to intangibles, work ethic, kind of what it takes. So I think they're like, we could go find a guy in the draft later on that's going to be cheaper than a free agent because we don't have that money to just throw around, So everyone's trying to find the Bruce Brown now this year because of what he just did. And you can find those guys. There's always value. The Spurs were fantastic of doing it for years with picking 29th. So I think you can really find it if you target it.
Yeah, definitely. Like Sam said, I mean, you need those guys on those contracts, especially a first round or even early second. But we have 2 more guys on our list, then we'll throw it over to you in case we miss anybody, which we almost definitely did. Tristan, is it just Vucevic, but there's just a K in there?
Yes.
Okay, so it's just the same. He's on the list. We've seen him mocked to the Celtics in a couple things. From what I'm seeing, again, far from the expert, probably not the best defender, but has an offensive shot and stuff like that. Do you think that would be a fit, or do you think Boston would probably go for a wing?
It's interesting now with Porzingis because I feel like you just got what you would get with him. Yeah. And Porzingis at least blocked some shots. Tristan's just one of those guys that he's been buzzing overseas for a while because he has a gorgeous shot with great size from outside. It's just the rest of the game hasn't really taken that next stride forward. The defense has kind of been hit or miss. And then he went to the combine and played in those scrimmages and lit the world on fire. So everyone was like, whoa, who's this guy? And he just couldn't have had a better week. So the rumors are he wants to come over and play. Like, I don't know if this is a stash candidate. I think he's like, no, I want to play. So it'll be interesting. I could still see maybe if Boston was like convinced they could stash him. But I'm with you guys. I have weird vibes. They're going to try to find a piece. Like they're going to try to find some good value in this class, but he can shoot it. And I think teams are going to be buying at least that idea with everyone wants shooters now. So it's like, oh, we have a 7-foot shooter. Like we'll take a gamble on it.
Yeah. I mean, the Celtics are a great stash fit, right? Nobody loves stashing more than the Celtics. You have Yamadar and Begarin just playing patty cake overseas. So we'll see if they take another swing and say, hey, here's another guy that's just not going to play for us.
And I was bummed seeing I'm going to go to Summer League, and I was bummed seeing those guys aren't going to be on the roster. I was like, oh gosh, that's a backbreaker before we even get into the season. So the stash candidates for the Celts have always broken my heart. I get way too optimistic in the summer about them.
We've got one last guy on the list, Sanogo out of UConn. Now, this was one guy I was familiar with as we put our list together and we reacted to mock drafts. Just because, one, we're from New England, we have UConn here, we're aware of them, and two, he had a great tournament. So what do you make of that? How did that impact his draft value, and can he help a team like the Celtics, or is he going to have to be somebody that has a time to find his feet a bit?
I think he's going to have fans. I've heard some good stuff about him. He's just a little undersized, but he had such a good year for UConn. Like he was shooting it from outside. He was putting up great numbers. It's just going to be one of those teams that's like, if you're really believing and buying, you got to be patient because he is undersized. I think he could be a really good rotation piece for Boston. It's so tough because now, obviously the rumor about Porzingis coming in too, but like now they have a lot of bigs. You got some depth. So it'd be like, okay, well, how will that work? Are you just having him kind of towards the end? Or are you thinking long-term with him? But I think teams are going to be intrigued with kind of his motor and the stride he took forward this year. He should be on the board probably when they're picking. I would be shocked if he goes before that, but I've heard good things. I've heard there's some fans. So another interesting name though, that I feel like if he falls in the right spot to the right team, he could just be a really good rotation piece.
Yeah. I mean, even if the Celtics do get Porzingis, which is now the talk of the town, just perfect timing for our draft coverage. Even if they do get Porzingis, I feel like you're going to have injury-prone Rob, injury-prone Porzingis,
right.
Old Horford. Probably going to need another big in there that's not named Luke Cornett. And I'm a Luke Cornett fan, but maybe you want another little project in there. Get a hustle guy in Sanogo that could potentially work out. But please enlighten us. Have we missed anybody? Who do you think would be a good fit for the Celtics? That was just our sort of thrown together.
Who's the number one?
My dream, I thought he wasn't going to be on the board, but I've seen his range is kind of going to be around there now. I think Colby Jones would be an unbelievable addition. He's kind of like a bigger Derek White. He's just one of those versatile pieces. He's around 6'6". He's smart. He has a great feel for the game, kind of is patient to find his shot, but took good strides this year with his 3-point shot. I think he's just a gamer. He plays good defense. I thought he was going to be a top 25 guy, and I've seen him in some mocks around 35, 36, 37, and I'm like, whoa, what am I missing? So I feel like that could be one of those sneaky Christian Braun additions if the Celtics somehow got him. I'm shocked you UConn guys haven't asked me about Andre Jackson. I'm shocked, but I feel like he's the mystery man of this draft because I've asked around and there's a lot of fans. Everyone knows about the shot. I've asked someone and they're like, I absolutely love him. The shot is unfixable. And I was just like, okay, that's interesting. But he was just like, he just does so many things on the court that really could impact our team, help out a big way. And I feel like that's the Stevens roll of the dice where he's just like, we can make this work because we got the offense around him. And maybe Andre Jackson has some games where you can't take him off the court. And maybe he has some games where you're like, this isn't working tonight. Let's go another direction. But I feel like, Boston would be the team that maybe looks seriously at him. And I don't know. I was curious to hear what you guys thought about him. If you're in or out on Andre Jackson.
I think it would be good. I think we looked towards when we were compiling this list. I think the main things we were looking for were shooting or backup big men. So maybe he slipped through our view a little bit. I think he would be good, like you said, especially because if there was a team that could handle having a player like that, it's a team that has plenty of depth that could sort of like, if he's good, he can play. If he's not, then he doesn't have to. Right. I know the shot's obviously not there as much, but you mentioned a Bruce Brown guy. If you look at somebody that can kind of do a little bit of everything, he can't shoot. I don't know how far I am off in the sense that he's kind of just like a plug and play jack of all trades guy. But I think it could make sense if the Celtics want to take that risk. What year is he? Is he a freshman or is he a junior? Or junior?
Off the top of my head, junior, I believe. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, I wouldn't hate it. You get.
It might be a bit more there physically too, as an older prospect.
It's just tough because I'm with you guys. I want some shooting. Like I want a specialist that could really come in and just like know his role and help out a lot. I'm trying to think of some other names. Jalen Clark at UCLA is just like one of the best defensive wings in this class, probably. He didn't get to work out. He had an Achilles injury at the end of the year, so he didn't get to work out at all. But I've heard teams are really high on him. He's just 6'5", athletic, kind of nasty slasher that really is good defensively. So that's like kind of maybe another guy they could just be like, okay, there's our defensive specialist. I'm trying to think of another shooter around that range. I think Ben Shepherd will be off the board, but he can really shoot it. It's tough. It's tough. Because I do think now, like the Porzingis thing, I thought they were going to look at bigs. Yeah. So I was like, TJD, I thought from Indiana could have been in the conversation with them picking on the board. And I think he's going to be a steal wherever he goes. And now I'm like, okay, are they going to really just go all bigs and add another one? And, I think Gallinari's still on the roster is probably going to be a welcome addition that we're all forgetting about. Hopefully he stays healthy. So I don't know. Those are some of the names.
All right. Well, that's perfect. Thank you for enlightening us on the potential Celtics prospects that they could be looking at. We do have a few general draft questions we were hoping to ask you. The first of which is, they're all pretty basic, but we're just, from the mind of a draft expert, we thought it'd be intriguing. Who is the player that people should be talking about right now that it seems like just nobody's mentioning?
Ooh, should be.
And anywhere about... it can be a top 5 player, it can be a out of the second round talent. Anybody in your opinion who you think more people should be talking about?
Right.
It's tough because he's well. I'll say I like Cason Wallace a lot. I thought he hasn't had a lot of buzz. Some rumblings like he had a back injury, so there's some rumblings. Maybe it's some medicals, but one of these guys that just is kind of like Drew Holiday from coming out of UCLA, just nasty combo guard, really smart player, really good defender. We're probably not going to look up and be like, oh, he's a multi-time all-star, but we might be like, oh, he's one of the best guards you could probably have when it comes to just, consistency and how he plays on both sides of the floor. Kobe Buffkin of Michigan's a really popular name right now, and I think it's well-deserved. He can play. He's just kind of almost like a bigger Mike Conley. Smart player, had a great sophomore year. He's still really young. So I think that's another big name, but this class just has so many talented guys that could go everywhere. I mean, Jalen Hood-Schifino is a name that's been projected later, but I've heard teams love him and he might be going in the lottery. So it's going to be a really fun class. I think there's going to be a lot of fireworks on the night of the draft.
Awesome. Yeah. I'm excited. I think it's interesting to always hear who are the names that no one's talking, because it feels like every year we see a player either fall 20 spots back or 20 spots or jump 20 spots forward that you just had no idea about going in.
I just thought of one that could be a Celtics pick. So here you go. I'll give you guys a bonus one. A guy I thought he was going to end up going top 20. He's had a rough process. He's been kind of falling a little bit, but Bryce Sensabaugh. I've been lower on him, but if he's there for the Celtics, that's like a highway robbery potential. He is one of the toughest bucket getters in this class. He's big body. He's like 6'6", 230. He's got to lose a little bit of weight, but he was incredibly efficient. He's got a beautiful shot from outside. It's one of those, like, if they got him, they'd be like, okay, we potentially got a really nice weapon to add. But he had a knee injury in high school. His season ended early for Ohio State. I think right before the tournament, he got another knee injury. He just got cleared, but he hasn't been able to work out for all these teams. So it's one of those names that's fallen a little bit that, like, even I could see Boston, if they just love the idea of him, that maybe they could try to get into the late first round and go jump and get him, because I think he could be a steal. It's just, you got to buy and have a really good fit for him, because he's not my favorite defensive prospect. I'll say that politely, but what he can do offensively is very elite. So it's like, if you believe that you could get him in around a good defense, you're probably saying, hey, this is going to work for us. If he's our 8th guy that just come in, score, get out, like, he might be perfect.
It does somewhat sound like a need for the Celtics. I mean, we did talk about Brogdon and his impact, and of course, they do need scoring off the bench. They're going to need it. They could have used it in the playoffs with Brogdon's forearm kind of being cooked against Miami. You saw him unplayable. Bring in scoring help off the bench would be great. And again, you don't need the defense there. I know, Jack, you had a potential who they should be talking about player.
This is mainly
anything. I love this.
So I write for the Smoking Cuban, which is Fansided's Maverick site.
Yes,
and I was looking at, okay, who could they take with the 10th pick, or who do you think this is like potential? And there was a line I wrote at the start that said, this player reeks of somebody who is going to shoot up draft boards to get drafted. And it was Bilal Coulibaly. Is that how you say his name?
Yes.
And so it's just like, again, I had not watched games. I hadn't done scouting. I just saw him. I read about it, and I'm like, this is just, he's going to be a guy who goes from a 30th pick to a lottery pick like the week of the draft, just because of the length, because of he played with Victor, because he's an overseas, because he's super young. And I've seen, like, I feel like there's a lot of people talking about him now.
He's the hottest name possible in the draft space right now. No, he's sizzling. Everyone wants to talk about Coulibaly. He's
so he does not fit into who they should be talking about, because they're not.
No, at this point, if he got out of the lottery, I'll be shocked. From everyone I've talked to, they're like, yeah, I think he's lottery bound. Really talented. He was dominating in lower level this year. If you go watch his film, you're like, this looks like LeBron with a bunch of high schoolers. Like it was just ridiculous. Then he got called up and kind of made his, earned his minutes with his defense. He's 6'8" with great length. I think he's got like a 7'3" wingspan, super athletic.
Crazy.
He's a lot rawer than I think people realize. Like he's going to be a bit more of a project, but it's all the foundational skills he has right now are really fun to develop. So that's why I think some team like OKC at 12 has been mentioned there a lot, because I think they have so many guys on their roster right now. They might be like, okay, let's take him, be patient. We'll reap the rewards in a couple of years. But yeah, he's a popular name. He can play, and he's athletic. He cuts. The shot's going to need to come around, but he's probably one of the best defensive wings in this class. Like he's got a lot of upside.
Spoiler alert. I know we told you we made like a mock draft an hour before that. I'm like 9. Yeah, we have Coulibaly at 12 to the Thunder. And they're like,
there you go. You're already looking smart.
And the thing we cobbled together right before you jumped on with us.
Really?
No, I think that's a popular one.
All the mocks.
All right. Yeah. All right. The next question, again, we said we had a few here. We danced around this when we were talking about the Celtics, because it feels like Boston is a team that could use a win now team. If you had to pick one player ready to help a team now outside of the lottery, who would you say?
Outside of the lottery. I think Chris Murray, Keegan's brother. He's probably going to be at the top of the list. And then Hawkes, we talked plenty about. Yeah. I think those are the two guys that you're probably saying that these can come in and help us right away. And then I'll just throw a bonus one in. Marcus Sasser of Houston, I think, is going to be an absolute steal wherever he goes. Like it wouldn't shock me if somehow Boston was on the board and they're like, okay, if we got rid of Brogdon for Porzingis, like Sasser, that's the mentality we want. He's just nasty. He's so tough. Like he's not going to be afraid of anyone. And he's one of those, like, some team's going to get a fantastic piece in him. I know he's a little undersized. Everyone gets scared about 6'2" for a point guard now these days, but he's got heart. He's going to play with anyone. He's going to fight. So it'd be one of those like, oh, if he ended up in Boston, that'd be perfect.
Well, you saw Jack with a massive smirk because he also said Chris Murray.
I wrote down my answers to these questions to see how well I know ball is basically what I was trying to do before we asked.
Chris can play. Chris is going to be one of those guys I have a feeling we're going to look up and be like, why did he go so late? Like, because he's just kind of safer. You understand what he is. I don't think he's a sexy prospect, but I think a lot of teams, like playoff teams, I think he probably Golden State might have a decision between him and Jaime, because that makes a lot of sense for them with what they need. So I think Chris is going to be a good pick wherever he goes.
Sweet. All right. The next question we had, I think we have two more, and then we, like I mentioned, we have our just rough mock draft that we'll have.
I love this as much as you guys want. We're great.
Perfect. biggest sleeper in this year's draft. Again, it can be late first talent you think should be a lottery pick. It could be somebody who's not projected to be drafted that should be just biggest sleeper in the draft. You can give us a few if you want, in your opinion.
Oh, sleepers. Brandon Pajemski is probably it's tough because I say he's a sleeper because now he just got a green room invite, but I think there's a lot of teams that I've talked to that are like, you're either in or out. Like there's no one that's like, I'm on the fence. Everyone's like, I'm in or out. He just can play. He had a fantastic year at Santa Clara. Kind of a guard that almost averaged 20 points a game and 8 rebounds. Like he's just kind of nasty. I like his game a lot. I think if he clicks, it's going to be like, oh gosh, he was an absolute steal. But if it doesn't, it's like, oh, okay, it didn't work out. But some team's going to absolutely love him. Sleepers. I don't know if this guy's a sleeper, but I have him lower on my board. Leonard Miller is a wild card in this class. Another guy, like I ask around, some teams are like, I could see him top 20. Some teams like, I think he's more of a second round guy, but he's got an army of fans in the Twitter spaces and the draft space because lengthy, he's around 6'10". He's with the G League Ignite. He had an awesome year in terms of just development, but kind of a shaky outside shot, but he can just rebound the crap out of the ball. He's really athletic. So I think that's another one. I'm trying to another sleeper. Julian Phillips is probably my last one of Tennessee. I think he could be in the conversation for Boston. Super high rated recruit. Tennessee's a tough fit for a lot of guys with that Rick Barnes system. And he's really athletic. He's around 6'8", but he just needs time to develop. So that could be Boston just saying, okay, in a couple of years, he'll be in our rotation consistently, maybe 1 year, but he just needs reps. He needs some G League run, but he's got a lot of talent, a lot of defensive upside.
Yeah. Perfect. All right. The last thing, we kind of use this to transition into our mock draft. This is a big question, and it's probably a question you've been asked a million times, and I'll put on this is our NBA lighting. We do this one for when we move on from Celtic stuff. It's just Scoot versus Brandon Miller. Like it's the obvious question you hear. I think the odds have now shifted to, it's going to be Hornets taking Brandon Miller, but a lot of people are like, how is Scoot going 3? What is your personal opinion on Scoot versus Brandon Miller?
I've had Scoot at 2 all year on my board. I think he's a potential superstar. I think he's a stud. Everything I've heard, I've tried to find something negative on him, and every single person I talk to, it just glows about him and raves about him. I love his game. I thought he's taken fantastic strides from last year. I mean, he's done everything I've wanted to see when it comes to a potential franchise point guard. So I think they're going to go Brandon Miller, and I love Brandon Miller. I think there's 3 potential superstars in this class. I know Amen and the Thompsons get a lot of kind of buzz, but I think I'm a little lower on them. But I think Brandon Miller is going to be a stud too. Like he's nasty. If you go watch him against South Carolina against Gigi Jackson, he put on a game and I was like, this guy is a freak. Like it was just terrifying, some of the stuff he does. But I think Charlotte's going to go Brandon Miller. I really do. I think they're going to say like, let's, draft for fit, I guess, if you want to put it that way. But I really don't think you can go wrong with those 2. I know that sounds like kind of a cop-out, but I just wouldn't want to be the one that passes up on Scoot. So that's why, like, all year I've said Victor and Scoot were 1 and 2 for me. And I've had Brandon Miller at 3 for all year. So I understand if Charlotte's like, hey, we need shooting. We need a potential star wing. Let's get him next to LaMelo. That makes some sense to me.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Well, with that, we can just transition right on in here to the mock draft that we put together. Wembanyama's one. Like, there's like, I don't know what conversation we could have about it. If you would like, is he?
What does it take for him not to be one? Like, does somebody go on his Twitter and find some stuff that he wasn't supposed to be saying? Or maybe he hurts himself, knock on wood. I didn't want to go to that, but that was the first one that came to mind. Not as funny. But
is there anything that could happen?
The crazy thing about him, and a lot of people don't remember this, is he had a really bad history with injuries. Like he had like 4 years in a row where he had like season-ending injuries or was out for a couple months. So this year was kind of a big deal when he announced he was going to go change teams, because everyone was like, he should be the number one pick. He's just got to stay healthy. Like, he's got to put up good numbers and stay healthy. But they had a really favorable schedule, which it was like sometimes they had one game a week. So it was like he got to kind of take care of his body and focus on that. And I think he's going to be fine. I think he's figured it out. He's a hard worker. He's had a conditioning coach all year that's kind of focused on his body. I think he's going to be fine. But it was a question this year. Like, people were like, like he had some serious injuries, and I'm hoping he stays healthy, because he's ridiculous to watch. He's kind of like Jokic, where you just laugh every game with something he does. Like, Victor does something like that. Sometimes it's a running 3-point shot and you're like, what are you doing? But he's talented.
The funny thing with him is, like, all 7-foot+ guys are injury prone type guys. Like, even without knowing anything about his history, like, I would look at him and be like, that guy might get hurt.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, Yao Ming, we were like the same way. I was like, that frame can't hold up forever. And like, we see it all the time. So I'm hoping he's just going to stay healthy forever, because he's such a fun talent. Chet too? I mean,
immediately similar build, similar type skill set, where he's supposed to be skilled at a plus 7-foot range, and he snaps his foot. What did he do to his foot? Something.
Yeah, LeBron. I still blame LeBron for that one. I think he landed on LeBron's foot on a block attempt. But no, I think like Chet, I think is going to have a crazy year. I think people are going to remember all of a sudden how special he is. But I do think Victor, hopefully he stays healthy too. But it was a concern this year. Like, it was something everyone was really nervous about. Scouts were nervous about it. And now it's like, okay, it looked like it was a great decision.
Yeah, and then you hear Victor on JJ's podcast just saying, like, yeah, like, he's saying all these things that sounds like a 35-year-old man, like, just a genius. Like, yeah, well, it was something, I can't remember the exact quote. It was like, do you worry about, getting caught up in the hype? He's like, no, because I always come back to my universe where I have to accomplish this. And I'm like, this guy's how old? Like, what are we doing here?
It exploded my mind when I heard that clip. I think Redick was dropping F-bombs. He was like speechless. I was like, yeah, that one has me having a headache too.
Yeah, I mean, he's incredible. That's awesome. We have in our mock draft, we have Brandon Miller 2, Scoot Henderson 3. That just seems like probably what's going to happen. I do have next to the Scoot Henderson pick, as I do with a bunch of other picks in the first round, trade ? Does Portland trade the pick in your opinion? And then you already talked about Scoot and Brandon 2-3 a little bit. So just like, if they do trade the pick, what team do you think would probably try to get it? And would their mindset be getting Scoot? You hear the Pelicans, like, your thoughts, I guess.
The Pelicans one would like actually explode the universe. I sort of want that to happen just because of the chaos, but I think they're going to keep it. I really do. I think if Scoot's there, they're going to be like, we're keeping this pick. I think they're going to get a lot of offers right now, because everyone's going to start being convinced that it's going to be Miller at 2. So New Orleans is probably going to try to throw a Godfather offer at the last second. But I think Portland, it's really tough, because Shaedon Sharpe last year looked fantastic. I think he's gonna have a big second year. And if you could add Scoot, like you're kind of almost speeding up the eventual rebuild to have these really two nice pieces.
Can they just trade Dame? Like, what are we doing?
That's where we're all getting at. Like, I love.
Well, let's
Dame.
all calm down a minute.
Yeah,
because if he gets traded, he's going to get traded to Miami.
Exactly.
And selfishly,
so we have to be careful.
I would prefer that does not happen.
It's scary, but I love Dame. I've loved his mentality about being like, I'm staying loyal, but sometimes like we're like, okay, we get it, bud. You did it. We're not gonna slander you if you go try to chase one at the end of your career.
Just run from the grind. Just run. Just go away.
It's just
go join Phoenix with everybody else.
They brought Mike Schmitz in for this reason, where it's like, hey, we need to start hitting on this draft. And they jumped up and they landed in a spot right now where they're going to potentially get a superstar. And I love Dame, but I don't think you could pass up that opportunity. And if you draft Scoot and Dame, comes in the next week and like, I want out, then I think you gotta be like, okay, we'll find something. But you're potentially going to have a new franchise point guard in the wing or in waiting with Scoot, and then Shaedon Sharpe looks like a potential offensive force. Like, that's 2 big steps in the right direction, where even if you do move Dame, who knows what they would do it for? Yeah. Maybe they get Tyler Hero from the Heat or something. I don't know. but I just can't see a world where it makes sense to pass on Scoot unless you're getting some huge name like Zion or, I don't know. But like the Siakam rumors to Portland, I'm like, you still need another move to kind of make a real push at this in the West. So I don't know. It's going to be fascinating.
Yeah, definitely. All right. 4 is another one. We have a little brackets trade question mark because I don't really know what Houston's doing, but we have Amon Thompson. That seems to be the name that they're looking at it for, right?
Yes. I think that's going to be the name that if it's not that, we're all going to be a little shocked. And it makes a lot of sense that they need a playmaker. I don't think I'm buying Harden's going back there, but that makes a lot of sense. Really exciting guy, prospect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sam, you're excited about the guy we have at 5, right? I know this is like one of the few prospects I've heard you say their name.
Yeah, I'm aware of Cam Whitmore. I am aware. Just because I guess he's super athletic. The Pistons clearly like him. I've seen videos of him doing the vertical jump with all the little things you hit on the pole. And he's like knocking all of them. Like he's getting all the way to the top.
You guys
Nobody knows ball like me.
It's more advanced than you give yourself credit for. No, he's the popular name right now because he was scorching. Like last week, people thought he might be a contender to go 4th to Houston, and everyone's like, "Whoa!" And then Jonathan Givony this week kind of said that he's been struggling in some workouts, and that kind of was like, "Uh-oh, here's the curveball." And then now there's some rumblings about some bad medicals. So he's either going to be it's going to be a great smokescreen and he's going to go 5, or he might be going any pick after that. So it's going to be interesting.
All
but
right.
Really talented,
athletic
scary
guy with
athlete.
medical stuff. Not fun. Sounds like the guy in New Orleans there. Can't get on the court.
Yeah. Not a good recipe.
Fat. He's just, he just can't get in shape. It's a little different.
Man. All right. 6, we have, is it Asar Thompson? Is that how you, am I saying it right? We have Asar Thompson at 6 to the Magic. Yes.
I like that fit. I like that fit. I like Asar. I actually have Asar above Amen. I got to see them in person.
I haven't heard that a lot.
Wow, oh yeah. I've had that for a while. So I got to see them in person. I have them back to back, but I like them both. I think Amen is one of those playmaking guards. Like he just needs the ball in his hand. I think Asar's learned to play off the ball, so he probably is going to have a little bit better of a transition. And I think Amen gets a lot of showcase for really flashy passes, but I think Asar just makes the right reads, understands where the ball should go. He seems like a guy I'd love to play with because like you look up and you're like, oh, the ball's in my hand. Like he sees the floor beautifully, really good defensive upside. Orlando's going to be a real wild card at 6. I think that's
I was about to say.
It's
Orlando
crazy there.
seems like the most fun team in the draft to me.
Yes, absolutely.
Just because there's so many different avenues that they could go with their multiple picks. They could trade them for a player, trade to move up. Who knows? It seems like they're set and ready to make the next step.
It's like kind of where OKC was before they just hit gold with the Jalen Williams pick. But like Orlando seems so close to taking that next step that it's like if they do a good job with these 2 picks, you could really be like, okay, Orlando might be really fun in a couple of years.
It's true.
Well, Sam says it all the time. Do you think there's a chance that they say like, hey, should we just trade one or both of these picks? Like, because with all the stars available, it feels like Orlando could have one of the better packages. Say, okay, if you want to rebuild starter kit, here you go. Like, go take these picks. Do you think that's possible? Or
We've talked about Portland.
Like, we'll take the
picks. Like if you're Portland and you're trading Dame to get back a rebuild package,
6 and 11.
Would you take any other package than that? That rules. That's better than Hero.
Right.
Stupid bucket hats. Like get the super cool drip.
You and Stan Van Gundy both love Tyler Hero's attire.
Oh, I can't stand Hero. Hero's he's one of my least favorite. He's on the punch in the face power ranking. Him and Poole.
I love that. Yeah. It makes a lot of sense. It really does. I think that 11th pick's probably going to be really enticing. It depends on where they go at 6. If they get their guy at 6, it could make some sense where they're like, hey, we could go back a couple spots and maybe get another piece, or we could just trade out for a player. Because I do think Orlando's not that far. Like they got Paulo, they got Franz, they have 85 guards. So it's going to be interesting. But if you add another good piece at whatever they get at 6. I think they've got some really nice pieces to grow with. I just want them to get a shooter. They need to get some shooting. So it'll be interesting if they try to even maybe trade one of those picks, like you're saying, like just get someone that could come in and help that team grow a little faster.
Yeah, it feels like the Magic already. I have a feeling they might be a play-in question mark team next year, like the Thunder were this year.
They beat up on the Celtics. That's for sure.
That
they're
did.
They're gonna piss us off next year. I have a feeling. I'm gonna be like, how did we lose again to Orlando? Like,
Absolutely. All right. 7 is the Pacers. Another one where it's like trade question mark. Sounds like the one on Anunoby. Not sure. I can't remember who this was. It might have been Mark Schindler of Basketball News. And someone tweeted something along the lines of just make the pick, you cowards, and just draft one. And so I have Taylor Hendricks. It feels like a little higher than like he's consensus. Like it sounds like he's probably going to go like 8 to 11, maybe around there. I think if they want OG Anunoby, Taylor Hendricks is probably pretty close. Am I far off on that?
No, I think Hendricks is going to be everyone I've talked to glows about him. Like every team just like, I like Hendricks. I like Hendricks. So I'm just waiting to see like, okay, who's all in on Taylor Hendricks? I think he could be a name that goes earlier than we're expecting. He's kind of like this. He's a big body that can space the floor. He's going to be a shot blocker. I think you're kind of looking at him as more of like a 4, but he could really he could shoot. He's got a really pretty shot and a lot of defensive upside. Kind of one of those safer, like higher floor guys because you just know what he's going to be able to do right away. The rest of the game's got to develop, but I know Indiana liked him. I think he's in the conversation there. It's just kind of how the rest of the board's going to pan out. But yeah, I think he could go like 8, 9, 10,
Gotcha. All right.
I like this mock so far. It's good. Okay. Come on. You guys know ball. What are you talking about?
Did you get this one, Jack?
No. What's the new news?
Spoiler for the first segment of our show.
Break it.
Gallinari being included in the blue team.
Oh, what? Where? Who do you see this from?
Fisher.
Oh, boo. Jake Fisher, friend of the podcast. That's so crazy.
Yeah, he was on our show once.
Wow.
He wanted to promote his book. It was like when show was nothing, too.
Yeah, we had him on. Damn, that's crazy. Yeah, we talked before this, but
I was trying to figure out how they did that trade without including that contract.
Yeah, but he would have to be. That stinks, but all right. Hey, Porzingis is Porzingis, I suppose.
Yeah.
Please say every mock draft, every mock draft I've seen anywhere has Anthony Black at 8 to the Wizards. Is that like? Do you think that's too high for him? Am I like? Literally, I pulled up like 6 different mock drafts to like sort of compile this, and it's like every single one. I was gonna put Jarace Walker there because I thought he'd be cool, but like everything I saw was just Anthony Black to the Wizards. Yeah, what's the deal?
I would say be on the look for him to Orlando. That would be my breadcrumb is what I've heard. I'm like,
Anthony Black.
Right? Yes. Ooh, so I think
rising.
If he doesn't,
eyeball emoji.
Yeah.
Exclusive.
Just what I've heard. There's a lot of misdirection in the next last 48 hours. It's going to be crazy, but I've heard that. I think if he is there at 8, I think Washington would jump all over that, but I don't think it's too high. I think he really could play. He's around 6'7", great playmaking feel. A lot of these bigger guards have really had success at the NBA level. Like the Josh Giddey's, obviously LaMelo Ball and Lonzo Ball. Like that's kind of, you almost can figure out a way just because of their versatility. So I like Anthony Black. I think he's going to be a really good piece wherever he goes. I'd like him to go to Washington because I feel like I need the Wizards to kind of get on the right path, but
to do anything. You need the Wizards to do anything.
The Beal trade was the perfect first step.
Yes.
Like everyone's giving him crap for the return, but I was like, you just needed to get rid of that and accept that we have to move on.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Jarace Walker at 9. It feels like I have him lower on this than some things. I saw him anywhere like Pistons at 5, but it feels like he's sort of starting to creep back on boards. Is that accurate?
Yeah, he's a fun one. Great character, hard worker, kind of, I don't throw this name around, but he reminds you of Draymond with just how he plays on the court. Shot is coming along. It's take a big step in 1 year. So it's a little bit better than Draymond's. No offense, Draymond, but he's just one of those guys. He's huge. He looks like the Hulk on the court, and he can guard a lot of positions. And he could go he could go as high as 5, as you're saying, or he could go any pick after that.
Okay. Gotcha. Number 10. We have Derek Lively because it feels like the Mavericks need a center. Is there any chance the Mavericks actually make this pick? Like, what's the percentage in your mind that the Mavericks make the pick versus trade the pick? Because it feels like it's probably gone.
It feels like it's like 10% that they keep the pick.
Okay.
I even heard a thing with Jake Fisher where he's literally said, he's like, I bet the bank that they're trading this pick. So I think they're trying to probably get a vet if they can for that pick. Everyone seems to be like, oh, they're trading it. They're trading it. So it's like, okay, well, are they actually going to do it? Or are they going to pick someone and shock us? But I think that could be where Lively goes anyways. I think teams are trying to go up to get him. So you're onto something there.
He's been rising a lot, right? Sorry,
yeah.
Sam.
Yeah. Oh, what'd you say, Sam?
It's another instance of CBA hands tied. Why not get a guy through the draft instead of trading that pick for a big contract? Just doesn't make a ton of sense.
It doesn't. And I did like a project. I've looked at all like the team's recent draft histories, and I did Dallas's, and I was like, oh gosh, like it is just a horror
terrible
film. So yeah, it's scary. But I think
Luka guy.
Yeah, they just got one guy. He just turned out to be unbelievable. I don't know what they're doing. I know Atlanta's probably trying to have someone take on John Collins. I don't know if that's what they're going to do, but I don't know. It's going to be interesting. It's just like you guys are saying, it'd be like, it makes sense to get a guy there that you could probably have cheap, but instead get John Collins' number.
Well,
why not? Yeah, they need a center.
John Collins is just getting traded every season.
Yeah. I just need him to get traded because I'm tired of that rumor. Like, John Collins again.
Airbnb, so he doesn't have to own anything.
It's brutal. It's brutal. This is another one where I saw him like a lot of mock drafts. Grady Dick at 11 to the Magic. They need shooting. That's something I saw in a lot of places. It just seems like that's the range for him. Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. I think if they go upside at 6, I think they got to get shooting with that second pick if they keep it. And, Grady Dick or Jordan Hawkins, I think, are the top 2 shooters in this class. So I think either of them makes a lot of sense there.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then I spoiled this a little bit. Bilal Coulibaly at 12. I'm just imagining a Shea, Giddey, Jalen Williams, Coulibaly, Chet Holmgren starting 5. And that sounds kind of like, if everything works out, that sounds kind of gross. Like that sounds like it's going to be a problem. Yeah. Send them west. But yeah, Coulibaly at 12 is where we had it.
They seem like a team that just keeps taking those swings, and you've hit enough lately that I think you could take these long-term approaches. So, they took that with Jiang last year. So if they double down on kind of the projects that they could reap the rewards with patience, like they do a great job of developing talent. They have a great G League team. They coaches let guys learn through experience. I think that would make a lot of sense.
Gotcha. All right. Fred VanVleet out in Toronto. 13, in comes Cason Wallace, who I called Carson Wallace for about 5 months. But Cason Wallace at 13 is what we had in our mock.
It's a good one. He's so fascinating. I think he could go top 10 somehow, and then I think he could be just a steal at the end of the lottery, or maybe even after that. I think he's one of the safer guys in this class. I think he's just going to play a long time and be a tough-nosed guard. So I like Cason Wallace a lot. I think Toronto's probably got him high on their list too, so that makes some sense.
Gotcha. All right. Swiftly moving on. End of the lottery here. We have Kobe Buffkin to the Pelicans at 14. If it isn't involved in some other trade, like with Zion or whatever, but we had Kobe Buffkin at 14.
Like I said before, he's just the hottest name right now. I almost at some point would be shocked if he doesn't go top 10, but it's just crazy because you hear that about a lot of guys. So it's like, well, someone can't go top 10 if you're giving me 15 guys that are hot names. So, but a lot of people like him. His camp's been kind of selective about who they've been working out with. Wow. So some people are like, oh, maybe there's a promise there.
I kind of hate that move from prospect.
Yeah, it's
still haven't forgiven Julius Randle. Snubbed the Celtics back in the day, actually. How'd that work out?
I hate promises. They're the worst.
Around in New York, getting your poster torn down as you get bounced.
Promises are the worst because half the time they don't pan out, and it's like, yeah, because teams weren't expecting a other guy to be on the board, but teams love to give them, so it's going to be interesting. Yep. But yeah, Buffkin there would be a steal for New Orleans, and I think, like I said, I think there's a chance he is on the board because there's just so much misdirection. This is a good mock. You guys got to be proud of this. This is a good one.
We definitely didn't put it together at 2 p.m. I texted Sam yesterday at like 6, like, okay, 2 p.m. You want to do this? Put this together and have Tyler react to it.
It's great. It's great.
Perfect. All right, this is the first one. The Hawks of 15. We have another like trade question mark thing. It's the first one where I might have like gone a little bit too far. Like maybe this guy will slide up. Ryan Rupert of the New Zealand Breakers. I feel like this is a lot higher than I saw him on some mock drafts, but I feel like if the Hawks were to make the pick, getting a defensive minded guy is probably what they need to be doing there. It's probably a bit higher than most mocks have him, but what do you think of Ryan Rupert? What is the thought there?
He's one of those names I think is going to be higher in front offices than the public. And then yes, like I've felt that way for a while because I think teams are just going to be intrigued with his tools. And he was buzzing overseas last year when he was playing in France. Then he signed to go play in the NBL.
So 15, not crazy is what I'm hearing.
I don't think it's that nuts because he just got a green room invite yesterday. And I think a lot of people are like, whoa. And I was like, they like him. Teams are going to like him. So I have no idea what Atlanta's going to do. They're like the one team giving me a headache this whole draft process. Cause I was like, what are you guys going to do? Cause I was like, oh, there's going to be a bunch of good guards on the board, but I was like, you have 2, like, what are you going to do? So it wouldn't shock me if some team's just in love with him and takes him early because he's a pest defensively. He's like really, really lengthy, almost Inspector Gadget arms. So wouldn't shock me.
All right. Perfect. What's next? 16 is the Jazz, who are trying to move up. Yes. They're trying to move up in the draft, right? Is that what the rumblings are saying?
I think, yeah. Classic Danny trying to move up.
Yeah. Trying to us. We have Jalen Hood Schifino. Is that how you say it?
Schifino, yes.
There? Okay, Schifino, yeah. Perfect.
That'd be a great pick. I really do think everyone I've talked to is like, oh, I could hear him going in the lottery, but it's like, gosh, again, you guys give me so many lottery names, like that can't all work. So I think he's got a lot of fans. He's big combo guard that kind of has a mature way of the game. So yeah, I feel like Danny would love him if he could get him as well.
Okay, perfect. 17. Did the Lakers make this pick or do they trade this pick? I'll ask before I tell you who we have.
I think they're going to make it. I think they kind of have to almost.
All right.
They better in this draft because someone's going to be on the board that they really should take.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope they take it. I mean, actually, I hope they don't. Mm-hmm. I'm a Celtics fan. I can't.
This is true. This is true. We had Chris Murray here, maybe a little higher, but like, I mean, if the Lakers, if Lakers need a win now piece, that feels like kind of the guy, right?
Yeah, that'd be one of those very annoying picks where I'd just be like, dang it. Like, oh gosh, okay, that was a smart pick. So we'll see, but I think there's going to be a lot of really good value on the board for them. Like they're in the sweet spot where it's like, oh, you're going to get the ripple effects of who went in the lottery, or if someone reaches, like someone's going to slide down. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense for Chris Murray to go there.
Okay. Heat at 18, another one that like, do they trade it in a package for player X? Right? Yeah, maybe it's Portland. Maybe it's Zach LaVine if they choose to do something. But
good luck.
Sam, not a Zach LaVine fan. Jet Howard at 18. If they want some shooting, I don't know. I've seen him all over the place. Your side makes you feel like you're not too high on Jet Howard.
No. I like Jet a lot. That would just hurt us.
Oh, the
Celtics
Heat
fans. Okay, so yes. He's one name I think is probably potential highway robbery because he can really shoot. He's lethal catch and shoot guy. He was playing on like 2 banged up ankles the whole year, and he's a movement shooter. So it's like that just sounds painful. And I think he's had kind of a quiet pre-draft process. So I'm scared he's going to end up going to a team like Miami where it's like, oh gosh, he's perfect. He's lengthy. He can shoot. Like that's a good recipe. Yeah.
Plus you get +5 development if you join Miami.
Yeah. Especially. Yeah.
They pick me up off the street. I'm winning a playoff game.
I hate it. It's unbelievable. Like I am more excited to see who they get in undrafted free agency now because Reggie Miller brings it up.
Some of these guys that they get, are they guys that you've had your eye on coming into the draft? Like, are you shocked by any of these guys or not shocked by any of them? Like any names that stick out that are like,
Gabe Vincent was one shocked me. I had a buddy that actually coached him in the G League and liked him a lot. And he's just like, Gabe can play. Like he's a tough guy. He'll stay there. But now it's like, I don't think any of us saw him doing this stuff. So it's like, oh gosh, but
well, once he got to the finals, it started to make sense again.
Yeah. It's funny how that works out for us. I was really enjoying that. I like turned off game 2. I was like, I can't watch this. Like,
Caleb Martin,
everyone came back to earth.
just lighting it up everywhere. Who's next? Warriors at 19. We had Jordan Hawkins. It might not be. Yeah. It feels like maybe they go after, like you said, a Jaime Jaquez or something. But Jordan Hawkins, maybe a mix of like potential and also can help them now, right? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, he'd be the anti-Jordan Poole, so that'd be a great pick. No, but I mean, if Hawkins is there, I think they would.
Wait. Expand upon that.
I'm not the biggest Jordan Poole fan, so
doesn't get Steph Curry tossed from a game from taking a bad shot.
It was funny because I have a buddy of mine who's a diehard Warriors fan, and when they beat the Celtics, I just turned to him and I said, they're going to pay Jordan Poole and this is going to be a backbreaker. And he's like, don't talk to me about that. And I was like, yeah. And he was a Michigan fan too. So he's like, I know. And I'm already sweating it. So I don't know. We'll see. But they're going to have an interesting offseason. But if Hawkins is there, I think they would sprint to the podium. He'd be perfect for them.
All right. A name you mentioned earlier, Leonard Miller at 20 to the Rockets.
Yeah, maybe makes sense. Makes sense. No, it's weird because they sound like they're either trying to get up from 20. I think maybe to go get Lively, they'd have to go up probably high. But I also have read, I think maybe Gavoni said they're trying to get out of that, like to trade it. So it's going to be really interesting. I don't know what they could do. But now we're getting in the wheelhouse where I'm like, could Stevens pull a rabbit out of a hat and trade into the end of the first somehow? So
Pritchard and 35. That's it's going to be tossing around.
Doesn't sound like he's going to Washington.
Yeah, I mean, you never know too. I feel like Boston could be at a point where like, let's get rid of some of our future firsts. We need to go get a guy. Like, I don't know. But I also think this is the draft where they're in a good spot that someone that should go in the first might be on the board still. So no, I like that pick. That's good.
All right. I'm glad it hasn't been too bad so far.
No, come on. I'm a positive guy. I'm not going to do that.
All right,
with the wrong group.
So the Nets back to back. We have trade question mark for both of them because, like, who knows what the Nets are doing. Nick Smith Jr. and Noah Clowney at 21 and 22. Nick Smith is a name I feel like was in like the lottery and then has fallen out of it. Maybe Nick I'm crazy, but I saw him up there.
Always is a 2K beast. Whoever made the 2K draft class made him one of the best players.
Those guys are the real heroes. I feel like I download them and I'm like, wait, why is Nick Smith like Ja Morant? Like, it's just funny. But Nick's going to be really interesting. I had heard a while ago he was still getting buzz in the lottery. Now I don't know if I'm still buying it, but teams I think are kind of going from his high school stuff, not just this year, because he just had a tough year with injuries and trying to get caught up to speed. And he'll be interesting. Clowney's got a lot of fans, so I think that's a good pick. Absolutely in that range. He got a green room invite too. Brooklyn, I saw, just brought Lively in yesterday for a workout, which is always notable like this time of the year. So it'll be interesting. I wonder if they're trying to go up to get someone with those two picks, but it also seems like a team that would be smart to just take two guys, keep building around Bridges and stuff.
Definitely. 23 is the Trailblazers. We had Bryce Sensabaugh jumping up a little bit there. That makes sense.
That's gonna be a good pick. It's gonna be very interesting to see whatever they do, especially if they get skewed at 3. Sensabaugh, Sensabaugh just has too many gifts offensively, so it wouldn't shock me but medical season's always scary, so I think teams, it wouldn't shock me if he also is out of the first. And then I'm gonna have to talk myself into that pick when the Celtics are on the board and he's still there. I'm gonna be like, okay, fine, I'll convince myself this is gonna work.
Okay, gotcha. 24 is the Kings. We had Colby Jones, who you mentioned might be slipping out of the first, but we had him up there with the Kings.
No, that's a good pick. I think Sacramento's in another team in a great spot. They could get a guy that could come help them right away. Colby Jones would be, I think, going to a playoff contender, he would be a fantastic addition. So I like that. That's a good one.
All right. 25 Grizzlies, Keontae George. Is that too high for him, or is that
no? So like he's wild because like I could see him going as high as 13 to Toronto. Wow.
Okay.
He's tough because he's also the name I think could fall. So it wouldn't shock me if he's like still on the board. He had a year where it wasn't as efficient as it was, but like when he's on fire, he looks so damn impressive. Like he's just a bucket getting machine. So it wouldn't shock me if he goes earlier than that, but it also wouldn't shock me if he's the one name that people, the whole broadcast are like, how is Keontae still on the board? You know, and there's always one guy like that.
Mm-hmm. All right. We have 5 more picks left in this mock draft. Pacers, Dariq Whitehead. Is I say that correct? Okay.
Yeah. Thought he was going to be a top 5 pick coming into the year.
Wow.
Had a preseason injury. Came back late in this, or a couple games into the year. He never looked like the same guy. He looked like he was 60% healthy the whole time. And then he just had another operation to clean up that, but he's supposed to be back in time for camp. But like super talented. I think he played the whole year and the question mark was his outside shot. And he took a huge step with that. I think he shot over 40%, but like, that's also a wild card for the Celtics. Like if he's somehow there, I think they
almost
would be like,
reminds
oh my gosh,
when they go, not the skill set, but the situation where pick him late, wild card maybe helps you, as he was supposed to be a higher pick in the draft. You know,
who is this?
When they drafted Rob.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, absolutely. Like if they got him, I think Celtics fans would be doing a backflip because I think the Celtics would be like, just be patient. We don't get healthy. We'll figure it all out down the road. But he has crazy talent. I just think, like, I've even talked to scouts and they're like, we didn't see the real Dariq last year. Like he just looked always like he was at 60%. The explosiveness wasn't there, but good size. He's tough. That's a wild card that could be on the board.
Is he someone you think should have maybe gone back for a sophomore year to run it back up, or like is he fine?
It wouldn't have shocked me if he did. He's also the name that like he hasn't been able to work out, but he's still been like lottery teams have been bringing him in. So I think there's a lot of teams that are just like, we might have a shot to get him later than we were thinking. We saw him in high school. We know how good of a player he is. It's just if the medicals check out, but like everyone's projecting him late. I think we are even projecting him later, but it wouldn't shock me if it's, you know, Atlanta somehow takes him. And I'm just like, of course, Atlanta. But I just have no idea where he's going to go. His range is so wild.
Gotcha. I mean, Atlanta makes sense. They took Jalen Johnson. They took Cam Reddish. They just like Duke guys, I guess. Just want to keep taking them. 27 is the Hornets. I haven't heard this name much, but I was like, Olivier Maxence Prosper. Did I say it right? Is that how you say it? So that's what we got at Hornets there.
Had one of the best pre-draft processes. Lengthy defender. I think he's going to be one of those guys. Teams are convinced he's just going to be the Swiss Army knife kind of. You play alongside scorers and he defends multiple positions. So he got a green room invite too, which usually that means teams feel pretty good. He's going to go early. So, another guy like in that range. If Sacramento, maybe Portland, like a lot of teams I think are going to be intrigued with him.
Okay.
Best name in the draft?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
I think so.
A lot of hyphen guys in this class with him and then Trace Jackson Davis has been driving
me up. It's messing me up, and I don't even cover the draft. 28, the Jazz, Julian Phillips, a name you mentioned. That's who we had at 28.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that these last couple picks are probably the wheelhouse of teams trying to trade in. So Celtics fans listening, I could say like, hey, keep your eyes on, you know, a team like Indiana. I know they traded one of those picks today, but maybe they try to get rid of another one, or Charlotte or Utah even. Never know.
Yeah.
Danny could help us out a little bit, please.
Hopefully. That'd be great. 29, this is the Nuggets pick because they just traded it with the Pacers. When we were making this and we had this here, this is what we described as a head and hands pick, like disaster, because we have Jaime Jaquez, the Nuggets, which we would just be so annoying because we think it would be very good for the Nuggets.
We made a video on them. Like,
there's always those picks. I swear, like we're gonna have a draft stream for no ceilings.
How do they keep getting away with this?
I'll literally just be like, come on again. Like it just happens every year. So like, that would be a great pick. They clearly have their eyes set on someone, and it's probably going to be head and hands when it happens. I'm going to be like, oh gosh, like great pick.
Yep. Very frustrating. All right, 30, last pick of the first round. Clippers. We had Trace Jackson Davis here getting another backup behind
hyphen guy.
Zubac. Yeah, that's what we had around.
I like that fit a lot. I think that one makes a lot of sense for me. So this is a good mock. You guys, come on. Like that, if you made that in an hour, I got to take some notes. Like that was proud.
We tried our best. We had plenty of draft coverage.
A lot of cheating on the test.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
Is there anybody we left out? Any other like first round things you think? I mean, we rattled off 30 names at you. So
it really goes back to what I just said. Like there's so many names that could be in that range, where it wouldn't shock me with, Pajemski or Julian Strother or somehow Ben Shepherd. Shepherd, I think, is going to end up going to the first. So it's another thing where it's like there's 30 picks and we have 40 guys that could go in the first round. So it's like someone's going to be left out. So that's why I actually think it's a really exciting year for the Celtics, especially because they might have a really good name on the board still. And after saying that, this whole podcast, we'll probably trade out of the whole draft. So
exactly right. Who was that guy 2 years ago that fell out of the first round that ended up it was the Hawks. It was the Hawks pick, and they took a guard, and he's just out of the league now. But everyone was super high on him.
Sharif Cooper.
Yes,
he's in the. I think he's still been dominating the G League, but it's like
okay. Eventually,
you got to make a decision if you should go play overseas or what. But it happens every year. There's just a guy that falls, and we'll see what happens. There's going to be some fireworks probably.
All righty. We didn't tell you about this, but this is something we do on every podcast, and I think you'll enjoy it. It has nothing to do with basketball. It is called the Rat List, as you can see with the
special
graphics.
Rat List.
So this is Matt the Rat, and again, it doesn't have to be basketball, but every podcast we talk about like the rat. Like I'll give you an example. So I play golf, and 2 podcasts ago, my rat list was the people behind us played way too fast and they were just hitting into us the whole day. So they're rats. If you blow through, if you go too fast or you're going like below the speed limit on the highway, you're on the rat list. Cause that's just like what we're doing. Like that's a rat move. Some NBA rats, Celtics, Kyrie's on the rat list, right?
Yeah. So just all-time rat.
Exactly. All-time rat list.
Makes his way on there.
Sam, do you want to kick off the rat list? Give Tyler an example and then just brew some like air your frustrations out. This is the rat list. This is what we do every podcast. Again, Matt the Rat is our mascot. So
all right. Yeah, I'll start it off. Rat list, oddly enough, Celtics.
Ooh.
Just to swing it into the idea of this trade. Oh, I really hope I didn't close my window. I'm still here, right?
Yes, you're here.
Hello. Thank God. Oh my God. Yeah, Celtics. So apparently they're including Gallinari in this trade. And kind of a rat move. We've discussed it at lengths just throughout the season, discussing at the deadline, will they move him for somebody? And it's really a bad look to move the guy that signed for you and was excited to play for your organization before he even gets to play a game after he tore his ACL. So kind of ratless Brad Stevens on that one, just because it might hurt future free agent signings.
Yes.
I'm right there with you on that one. That one hurt. Yep. I was excited for the Gallinari experience. But oh well, I guess we'll never.
It's not even that for me. It's just the optics. I don't care. He's found money as a trade asset, but I just think it looks bad on the organization. Anthony Davis's dad is like rock hard somewhere. Like, look, I told you, they're terrible people there.
Yeah, exactly. I'll give you a non-basketball example. So you have something else. So I was driving home the other day, and the car in front of me is just going like 20 miles an hour in like a 35 or something. It's just something ridiculous, right? It's just making me mad behind the wheel. So I ran my first red light. I'm outing myself on the podcast. So we're taking a left through a yellow.
Everybody down.
Right? We're taking a left through a yellow, and he slows down like he's going to stop, but then he just kind of ekes through the light. So I just followed him. Like, I'm not waiting 5 minutes because you're driving like an idiot. So that driver goes on the rat list for driving like a moron. And making me really mad. And then they continued to go slow the rest of the way. And then they turned into like some random driveway and like just stopped on a dime. Rat list that driver for being an idiot. So that's my rat list. That's a good example of a non-basketball rat list.
No, those were both good. All right. I'm going to give a draft one just to be in the spirit. Yes. And then I'm probably going to get off this podcast and think of like 5 other ones. And I've been like, I should have said that. My rat list is how every single draft, the NBA makes these guys that, like, say there's a player picked that gets traded and he has to go up on stage and wear the other team's logo
Yes.
and do the biggest moment of his life. He has to do an interview with a team that's not drafting him.
Yep.
Like, just literally, like, tell the guy he's getting traded, give him the right hat. It also just funny when they interview him and the first question is just like, so you're getting traded. Like, come on, like, just let this guy have some moment and celebrate. And then another quick one about that also is I can't stand how apparently Woj is putting a stop to this year.
This was going to be my second rat list.
How they report trades drives me crazy because, like, we watch at home and two of our guys at No Ceilings went to the draft 2 years ago and they're like, no one knows what's going on with the trades. Like, you don't find out until you have to get on your phone. So Woj said he's changing this year to stop tipping picks and he's announced trades. And I was like,
he's been on thank you before.
Yeah.
Woj has been on the rat list. Woj was on the rat list. Exactly. Woj was on the rat list in the playoffs when he was like, Doc Rivers is really mad about
they're not calling a lot of fouls.
Oh, rat. That's a rat move.
That was terrible. Internet. Yes. I actually remember that. And I was like, shut up, Woj. Like,
exactly.
We're in a series here. I don't need this. Come on.
Crazy.
Before game 7, he was like, please call it in favor of Philly.
I think I was even like, what is the point of this? Like, come on. Like,
rat move.
Wow. That's good. I like this.
Yeah.
Ratless internet.
Yeah.
I don't know if either one of you could notice this episode, but I was watching a slideshow. I was in and out. I was unplugging my Ethernet, seeing what would work. I'm happy it didn't happen when I was talking, though. Like, it honestly happened at like the best time. Like, I was not really needed for the mock draft. I wasn't needed for like the takes on that. I know nothing, and I'm back for the rat list. So thank God for that. But yeah, rat list internet.
Yes,
I love that.
Yes,
that's great.
Any other rat lists, Tyler? You're welcome to have as many rats as you want. All right.
Harden, if he goes to Houston's on the rat list, probably.
Yes,
but
absolutely.
I also don't want to deal with them in Philly, but whatever. So that's the only ones I got. This is good. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, of course. We do have to amend the rat list. We put Wembanyama and the Spurs on the rat list for not playing in Summer League, but now he's going to play in Summer League.
Oh, he is going to play.
Yeah. I think we have to amend the rat list.
We bullied him into playing. We put out a short and everything.
He said it. He said, there's this rat list I got mentioned. I had to get my name off of it.
Yes. Well, thank you to Matt the Rat once again for making his appearance. We'll retire him for the
brightest screen ever.
But yeah, Tyler, thank you so much for joining us. This was a long podcast. Sorry for keeping you so long, but we appreciate you coming on the show.
No, absolutely. It was never too long to talk Celtics and NBA draft. So thank you guys for having me. And for all the Celtics faithful out there, good luck with everything. Hopefully Porzingis stays healthy. I can't believe we now have a unicorn in green, or hopefully, but
yeah, we'll see.
I appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. This was a blast.
Yeah, awesome. Would you mind letting everybody know where to follow you? I used to say this a lot, but I messed up somebody's handle once and I felt really bad. So I now just let the guests say, okay, where to find you, Twitter, websites, all that stuff. So please.
I'm at Tyler_Rucker on Twitter, and then I'm at NoCeilingsNBA.com, and all social media handles No Ceilings NBA. So thank you guys again. And draft day is right here. I'm so excited. I'm excited for Summer League. Excited that the Celtics are going to figure it out and finally win 18. So thank you guys again. I appreciate it.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you. And thank you again to Tyler Rucker for joining us on the show. One of my favorite conversations we've had, because it feels like whenever we have somebody who's an expert in anywhere outside of Celtics land, it really feels like we're learning a lot, at least for me. Like, I don't know much about the draft, so to have a draft expert on the show teaching me a lot of stuff that I didn't know beforehand, that was really fun for me and for Sam. So thank you again to him for coming on the show today. Speaking of, this is it for us. Thank you very much. Again, if you're looking for the Kristaps Porzingis stuff, we did a whole nother video on it. Don't you worry. That's its own separate video on the channel. But subscribe to How About Them Celtics on YouTube and all podcast platforms. Leave us 5 stars on Spotify and Apple and a review, or say something in the YouTube comments. YouTube comments have been fire lately. A lot of people saying a lot of things, good or bad. I always enjoy reading it regardless. Thank you very much.
Busy group of people.
Yes. They love commenting, and we appreciate it very much. But I'll let Sam wrap up the show.
Yeah, thank you very much for listening or watching to this one. Enjoy the draft tonight. We definitely set you up to know a little bit more than you did an hour and a half ago. That is for sure. Big thanks to Tyler. Make sure you give him a follow. You can give us a follow, subscribe to the YouTube channel, leave a like, comment on the videos just like Jack said, and make sure you hit the notification bell. You don't miss any of our daily uploads, especially if there's a surprise one, like that Porzingis video that came out yesterday after the news broke. You can follow the channel on social at How About Them C's, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook is just the name of the podcast. You can follow Jack at Jack Simone NBA on Twitter. You can follow me at Sam LaFrance NBA on Twitter to see my tweets without interruptions by my internet. That's it for us. Bye.
Taco, come on.
Taco's having some